If you look back at history, disruptive, game-changing innovations are rarely created with caution. You need an organization that incentivizes risk-taking. When we stop taking creative risks, guess who loses the most? Our audience, our customers, because they don't get to enjoy those unrealized new innovations that could take them farther and closer to their aspirations and dreams. And I want to illustrate this through a team I had the pleasure to work with over the course of a couple of decades. A team that never played it safe, a team that we used as a mirror for the way we organized and created our innovative culture at Nike. And that's the Brazilian national team, the most successful national team in the world for football in terms of number of World Cup trophies won, 5. But it's not how many trophies they've won or how often they've won. It's how they've done it and how they've made people feel. It's not only success, but it's the fact that for the most part, they are the second favorite team around the world as you travel the world because of the way they play. So here's the thing. Most teams at this level look to remove individuality from the field of play. It's too risky. It's too human, right? But Brazil's style of play is predicated on celebrating and amplifying the creative eccentricities of each individual player. So much so that over the last 100 years, they developed their own style of play called Ginga, which means to sway. And as you watch Brazil play, you can actually see cultural influences from the country brought to life through the way the players move and see the field. Brazilian martial arts like capoeira, samba, graffiti, all these different art forms that have been allowed to flourish on the field of play. And what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that to create an innovation culture within business, it's not simply about expertise. It's also about life experience that shapes unique perspectives. So first and foremost, we always had a culture that allowed space for improvisation. Of course, you need strong business plans, of course, to drive the business, read and respond to what the customer and the marketplace is signaling. But at the end of the day, there needs to be a percentage of what you're doing that, quite frankly, might not be on the business plans, because some of the largest and biggest businesses and consumer engagement concepts we put out in the world simply happens through a hallway discussion where we had a culture that allowed you to ask those two questions: what if and why not? The other thing you learn from Brazil is that innovation happens in the intersections where expertise and life experience and diverse perspective merge. That's where the magic happens. And I've always believed that it is diversity that breathes life into the creative and innovation process within the best brands. And it's an important one to make sure you're inviting those diverse perspectives and people from different walks of life along with these game-changing expertises. So what do you get when you have this thriving, diverse, creative aspect within your brand building enterprise? Well, certainly it gives you a vision advantage. You're able to see opportunities in a more expansive way. It opens your aperture. And I believe that any great brand storytelling or product design or innovation starts through empathy. A team's ability to look at a subject, could be an individual, a community, an entire city. The ability to look beyond the simple observations, peel back the layers, stop looking at what's just on the surface, and find a unique truth or insight that then you reveal in a profound way through your solution. Because we can't be just in the business of reporting the news. Everyone else is doing that. So what is it about your story that has distinction? Again, that starts with your ability to ask the questions and get to that truth. So since we're in New York, I want to illustrate this particular principle with a brand story from the US Open years ago. And we start with the amazing Serena Williams. 23 singles Grand Slam titles. It's amazing. Not just what Serena's done on the court, but also off the court to grow the game and inspire people from all walks of life. And oftentimes, Serena is held in that conversation of the greatest athlete of all time. But the reality is, over the years, every time she was confronted with the question with the media, the question was asked differently than it was for her male counterparts. No one asked a male tennis player, how do they feel about being considered one of the best male tennis players? But yet for Serena, there was always that designation of best female athlete. Let's take a listen as once again she's asked this question and she really just simply has to put the media in her place.
I'm extremely passionate, and I think that's just kind of something that just keeps me going.
There's the big talk about you going down as one of the greatest female athletes, or one of the greatest female athletes of all time. What do you think when you hear someone talk like that?
Well, I prefer the word one of the greatest athletes of all time.
But you see, we might miss that, and we might miss it repeatedly if we're just simply spectators, right? Which is easy to do when you're witnessing greatness. You're not necessarily aware of what the lived-in experience is like. But if you get off the bleachers and into the arena with the athlete, you start to experience some of these slights. And so our job was to turn convention upside down. And we created a story and a campaign that went viral around New York City with the power of simplicity, just simply crossing out the word female, greatest athlete ever, and used a very old school approach to spread the world in an increasingly automated digital lifestyle that we lead. And this was unmissable, right? And it gets back to creating stories, right, that stick, where people can feel something. So my ask for you is to make sure you're not just focused on what's on the surface, that the process starts when you talk about creating game-changing brand communication with finding that insight or truths, and then being able to reveal that in profound and clever ways.